Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Aran from Aran Academic Planning. This is another installment of a virtual information session series, in which I'm joined by admission representatives from schools all across the United States, Canada, and Europe. These schools represent a wide variety of options for you and your family to consider as you begin the college search process, from liberal arts colleges to state research institutions, women's colleges, religiously affiliated schools, and everything in between. Today, I'm joined by Madison Hollenbeck from Whitman College. So, Madison, take it away.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Hopefully you are enjoying this presentation from wherever you are in the country and wherever you are in the world. To introduce myself, I'm Madison Hollenbeck. I'm a Senior Associate Director of Admission here at Whitman College, which is located in Walla Walla, Washington, which is down in the southeastern corner of Washington State. To get started, I always love to talk a little bit about kind of where we are located because I do think that is one of the things that differentiates Whitman from a lot of other small liberal arts schools, especially if you end up looking at schools in the West Coast or in the Pacific Northwest. We really are one of the only schools that is a small liberal arts school that's located in a little bit more of a rural location. Walla Walla is the town, so nice they named it twice. But as I mentioned, we are down in the southeastern corner of Washington State. We're about a 4.5 hour drive from Seattle, 4 hour drive from Portland, and a 4 hour drive from Boise, if that kind of helps situate you in kind of where we are. Walla Walla, though, I think is a really nice surprise for a lot of folks that come and visit us or that put Whitman on their list. It sits at about 35,000 people here, and so it's a pretty sizable community. We're really fortunate that we have a pretty large tourism population that comes through Walla Walla. And so a lot of the big city amenities that you might get in your city or your town are all things that you can find here in Walla Walla. But you get kind of the best of both worlds, and that all of that is going to be about a 10-minute walk away from campus. And so when you talk about access to the community, to getting off of campus and into the town surrounding Whitman, our students can really do that pretty easily. Like I said, it's probably a 10-minute walk away from their residence hall into their favorite coffee shop. It is a place where you're going to probably unintentionally run into someone you know. It's not always going to be the same person, but you're going to have a lot of friendly faces around. And what I think is really nice about that is, especially as you're thinking about picking up and moving from your hometown to Walla Walla and Whitman, is that there's going to be people around you that are going to get to know you, get to know who you are as a person and as an individual, both on campus, but also within the community. I do like to talk a little bit about how do you get here. We do have an airport in town, and so you can go from wherever you are to Seattle, Seattle to Walla Walla. It's kind of a little hopper flight. We also have an airport that's about 45 minutes away in Pasco Tri-Cities that has some bigger hubs to Southern and Northern California, Arizona, Salt Lake, Denver, Minneapolis, and they're constantly adding new flights there as well. And so that can be a really great option. We also do buses on all the major holidays to Seattle and Portland. And so if you want to fly in and out of those airports, we can help get you to those spaces during all your holiday breaks. But Walla Walla is also a place that is a little bit different than the rest of the Pacific Northwest. We see about 260 days of sunshine a year. So a lot of blue sky, sunny weather, four well-defined seasons, a lot of great access to the outdoors, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But also still get all the perks of being in the Pacific Northwest just without all the rain, gray, and gloom. As we talk a little bit about Whitman, Whitman sits at a little under 1,500 students total here on campus. We have students from almost all 50 states in over 80 different countries and sovereign nations, with a pretty sizable international population of about 14% of our students being international. And I think we're really lucky as so many of our classes are kept really small. You can see the average class size on the slide, but also in that our classes are really geared towards discussion-based learning, to getting to know one another, to having conversations, to challenging one another's points of views. But when you're in a classroom where you have students from all over the country and all over the world bringing their own points of views and perspectives, it's really an exciting opportunity for our students to be engaged, to have this global campus community around them, to be able to share one another's experiences and learn from one another. As you can also see, we have a small student-professor ratio. Faculty-driven conversations and faculty relationships are at the core of what Whitman is about. And as we talked about in Walla Walla, is that there's always friendly faces. More than likely, what is, I think, different if you're looking at smaller liberal arts schools, we'll all tell you that we have small class sizes and small student-professor ratios. But at Whitman and in Walla Walla is that your professors also live in this community. And so when you talk about access to your professors, you get to see them out walking their dog, maybe getting ice cream in town with their kids, picking out groceries at a local grocery store. I have a colleague who actually picked out groceries with the president of Whitman, all those types of places. But you get to build those relationships in a lot deeper way with your professors and more than just like a professor student, but also in a friendship, mentorship, someone that you're able to have those additional conversations with. As we talk about kind of the academic setting, Whitman is a place where academics are challenging. A lot of students will come in and really realize the rigor of the Whitman kind of expectations in the classroom setting. But it's done in this way that's really around collaboration and conversation. It isn't about this like hyper competitive environment where students are all about outcomes. Obviously, our students want to be successful, and they are. But they do it in a way that they really want to make sure that they're supporting one another, that they're not doing it just to like compete to be top in their class, but that they're really like learning for the sake of learning and that they enjoy what they are doing. And a lot of our work on campus ends up being project work and group work because we think people learn better together and sharing their different perspectives and challenging one another to continue to grow. As we talk about kind of what does your academic experience look like at Whitman, the first thing that you're going to do here is going to take your first year seminar class. This is where I like to say you learn how to think, read, write, and present in a liberal arts mindset. And a lot of small liberal arts schools will probably have some type of first year seminar, first year course that all the first years have to take. But at Whitman, we really kind of take a lot of what you've learned in high school and flip it on its head, where a lot of high school has been kind of input and output, test driven. Our first year seminar class is really around asking questions and defending your thoughts. And so, as we break our classes up, the whole first semester is really around asking complex questions. What do you want to know more about? What are you curious about? How do you pose those questions? As you move into your second semester, it's around making powerful arguments. So now that you've asked those questions, how do you defend your thoughts, your points of view? How do you share that with other folks and really put that both together in written form as well as orally and defend your thoughts verbally to everyone in your classes. And these are skills that we think no matter what it is that you study at Whitman are going to make you successful. And so we think it's really important that you have a class curriculum that's kind of built around these softer skills that will allow you to continue to grow no matter what it is that you decide to focus in on. From there, we kind of take your curriculum and we divide it into thirds. The first third is going to go towards your major. We do think it's important that you decide on something to study. All of our students, though, come in undecided to Whitman. We give you until the end of your sophomore year to declare your major. And so if you are multi-decided and have lots of ideas and are trying to figure out how to narrow that down, you will be in great company here on campus. If you're like, I know exactly what I want to do, I want to be a politics major, you can start taking politics classes as soon as you get here. We just still want to give you some time for extra exploration. There's so many more classes in college than you ever get access to in high school. As you can kind of see up on the slide, one of my favorite stats about Whitman is that about a third of our students will do kind of the harder natural sciences, a third will do social sciences, and a third will do humanities and arts. So we're really well spread throughout all the different divisions. There's not like one specific program everyone is choosing Whitman for. Our most popular programs right now are biology, psychology. We're really well known for our environmental studies program. We have 11 different combined programs within environmental studies, anything from environmental politics to environmental art to environmental biology. And then our fastest growing program right now is probably our brain behavior and cognition, which is kind of our take on neuroscience. But we have new programs like public health, finance. We have a human-centered design concentration. There's a lot of different really cool options to kind of have that interdisciplinary approach to learning. And more than likely, I oftentimes describe your major more as a thread that connects all your different classes versus the one thing that you're going to study while you're here. Your second third of your classes are going to go towards distribution requirements. We do think it's important for you to take classes in a lot of different areas. Maybe push you outside your natural inclination and take classes outside your comfort zone. Not so much so that you don't enjoy your classes. That's one of the biggest perks of college, but still making sure that you get that breadth and then you get that depth with your major that you decide to declare. Um, our distribution requirements are really geared towards skills that we think it's important for students to have. We do think it's important for students to take a lab science of some sort and have those skills that you need in the lab. We think it's important for students to be really strong writers. So you're going to take a class that is focused on writing across contexts. We think it's really important for students to be global students and global citizens. And so you will have to take some kind of global studies course. That could be a Spanish class, that could be a study abroad experience, or maybe it's the history of Latin America. There's a lot of variety and options that fit into these different distribution requirements. A lot of students will use these to kind of explore during their time here on campus as they decide what it is that they want to focus in on. The last third, extra classes that you want to take because they sound cool. Maybe that's where a second major falls in, double major, minor, double minor, whatever kind of combination you want. Maybe that's where study abroad falls in if it doesn't fit into the first two categories, but just giving you that extra flexibility during your time here on campus to make your 4 years what you would like them to be. And then the last thing you're going to do is your senior thesis or capstone project. Every single student on campus has to do some type of project, and oftentimes it's doing graduate level work at the undergraduate level. It will always include both an oral as well as a written portion. What you major in kind of depends the exact format it takes. Our seniors will tell you it is both the most challenging thing that they do here on campus, but also the most rewarding, and a perfect middle ground between what is undergrad and what are those next steps. I often joke after you defend a thesis in front of a panel of professors that probably know every answer to the questions they're asking you, going into any job interview or presentation is just going to be just fine. But we really do approach academics in this kind of interdisciplinary, holistic, well-rounded, but also rigorous and collaborative kind of environment. As I mentioned, our campus on Whitman's campus is very global, especially in the Pacific Northwest. We are the most global campus you can find. We have students that come from all over the world, but we also have a lot of students that go out and explore the rest of the world by doing a study abroad program. So a little under 50% of our students will study abroad. We have over 80 different programs to choose from in 40 different countries on 6 different continents. So you can pretty much pick and choose wherever it is that you'd like to go within the world. Um, you can go on a major related trip if you'd like. Maybe you want to study psychology at the University of Copenhagen. Maybe you want to go on a general culture and just take and directly enroll at the University of Glasgow. Maybe you want to do a language intensive course in Spain and stay with a host family. Or maybe you want to do field research and go to Turks and Caicos and do marine and biology research while you're there. There's a lot of variety, but all the credits you get abroad will definitely transfer back with you to campus, and any scholarships or financial aid you have on our campus will transfer with you abroad. So you don't have to worry about those two pieces. It's kind of picking and choosing wherever it is that you'd like to go. And it's a really incredible opportunities. I love hearing about all our students get up to when they study abroad. And students typically go during their junior year, first semester. It's kind of where it works best in their schedule. As we talk a little bit about extracurriculars and student life, Whitman is a very residential campus. We have a super robust student life. One of the things that draws most students to campus, or draws a lot of students to Whitman, is our access to the outdoors. One, being in Walla Walla, we have access within, a short drive from campus into the great Pacific Northwest. But our outdoor program is phenomenal. We have 3 full-time staff that are just focused on outdoor excursions and outdoor programs. We send out trips over almost every single weekend, over 65 in a school year, ranging from backpacking, river rafting, mountain biking. We actually have a 7,000 square foot rock climbing wall right in the middle of our campus. We give students $150 to put towards these trips, so we're basically paying you to get outside and enjoy the beautiful Pacific Northwest, which I don't know how you can say no to, but I am totally biased. But our off-campus studies, or sorry, our outdoor program is a really phenomenal resource and something that we really, I think, want most students to take advantage of while they're here. If you've never hiked in your life, you can absolutely go on a beginner level hiking. If you're outsidey like I am, not outdoorsy, you can go on a stargazing trip. But maybe you are hiking 14ers every single weekend. You can go on an advanced level. You can even be paid to do outdoor trips and lead these trips of peers. Student life on campus, in addition to the outdoor program, is something that we think is really important. We create this balance on campus because you're never just going to do one thing. We want to make sure that while you're here, that you have opportunities to pursue your passions, your extracurriculars, whatever it is that you might be excited to do in your free time. And you do get a lot more free time back in your life in college. You're not sitting in class every day from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's like I have a morning class and then I have a gap and then maybe I have an evening class. And so let's fill that time. We have over 150 different student clubs and organizations, anything from academic-based clubs like our Pre-Health Society to our Whitman Investment Club to affinity groups like our Black Student Union or First Generation Working Class to fun clubs like the Organic Gardening Club or the Board Game Club. One of the newer clubs on campus is a gluten-free club where they're at the end of the school year, they were ranking top gluten-free pastas and sending that list out to the campus. So many different options, a lot of different events that are happening on a regular basis. Some of the bigger things that I always like to highlight, one is that we are a super arts-driven campus. We have 11 different musical ensembles. We do 5 main stage productions a year in theater and dance. We have 2 different art galleries as well, as long with a walking sculpture tour around campus. And so if you love being part of the arts, whether you decide you want to study that, or if you just want to be maybe a cello player in one of our orchestras, you can absolutely do that. But it's something that's super well celebrated. Walla Walla actually has one of the longest standing symphonies west of the Mississippi that our students can sometimes participate in. But really taking advantage of just the ability to be involved in music and study it if you'd like, but also just be involved in whatever way feels most natural to you. I love to highlight our intramural and club. Obviously, varsity sports, we're about 20% D3 varsity athletics and compete at a very high level. But we also have really robust club and intramural sports. Ultimate frisbee, club climbing, club skiing. Our ultimate frisbee team actually went to the national championships this year and placed second. We had 2 national champions within climbing. And then intramural sports, I often joke, is also one of the only competitive parts. You get a t-shirt when you win a championship, gives you a lot of bragging rights. And so it's a great way to get together with who you live in your residence hall or maybe your first year seminar class, but to get together on like a Tuesday night and play some basketball. I have my own dodgeball t-shirt and I do wear that with a lot of pride every time I put it on. We worked hard for that in the admission office, but and then the last thing I always love to highlight is community volunteer and volunteer work. We have over 65 community volunteer partnerships. Community service is really at the heart of a lot of Whitman students, and they are getting off of campus and getting involved. Whether that's reading to preschoolers before nap time or working in the local school districts, our pre-health students will volunteer at clinics in town that help individuals that are underinsured, or maybe it's running the bingo table on Friday nights at Oddfellows, which is the retirement home that's right across the street from the admission office. Our students are getting off of campus, they're getting involved in the Walla Walla community. And what's nice, as I talked about with Walla Walla, is like a lot of these opportunities are a 10-minute walk away. And so while our students are very thoughtful in how they get engaged, it doesn't take a lot of effort to do all the things that they want to do, and community service being at the top of their list. And so we are a really service-oriented community here at Whitman. Talking about residence life, as I mentioned, we are a very residential college. 95% of our students come from more than 200 miles away. So as you're thinking about picking up and moving from Whitman or from your hometown to Whitman, you can go to that with full confidence that everyone is doing that with you. They're not leaving on the weekends to go home. If they are leaving, it's probably for an outdoor trip or a venture with their friends. But we have a really great residential experience. Housing is guaranteed all 4 years you're on campus, currently required for just 2. But we have a lot of different options. We have complete first year residence halls where we really try and build that community within your first year experience. As you move into your sophomore year, you have a lot more options on campus. That can be anything from our interest house community where we have language houses or houses like our community service house or our fine arts house, to living in Stanton, which is a sophomore residence hall, or Douglas, which is suite style. As you move into your junior and senior year, we actually just opened brand new upperclassmen housing that is apartment style, both triples and quads in apartments on campus. They just opened this past fall in fall 2025 and are a really incredible opportunity for students to live on campus all 4 years, but still have that really kind of independent experience during their junior and senior year when they might want to be cooking their own meals, have their own space, and not live, in the same room with someone else. A lot of our students also move off campus. Whitman owns a lot of the houses right around campus, and so Whitman can be your landlord just living in an off-campus experience. But there's a lot of different variety, and I think when we talk about what a residential college experience looks like, what is really nice about Whitman's is that there's a lot of different options and pathways that you can take through our residence life, but that we really do try to build that community. Our residence staff do over 650 different programs in any given year because it really is your home away from home, and making sure that you have the opportunity to build that community in the residential experience. And then I always love to give a shout out to our Cleveland Commons. It is a phenomenal dining hall, and I know I'm biased and I work at Whitman and they pay my salary, but our dining hall is truly phenomenal. They have anything from burgers and fries to the best salad bar. Being in Walla Walla, we're in a very heavy agriculture space, and so folks are able to go through the salad bar line and see that tomatoes are coming from Hayshaker Farms 10 miles down the road. We have sushi and ramen, a rotating global station, really phenomenal coffee, really great with dietary restrictions. Our chef won Chef of the Year last year. And so you will never, like, our food is truly incredible. And our students are very lucky that that's where they get to eat every single day. The last thing I'm going to talk through before we start kind of switching over to kind of admission and financial aid is that we start talking about your first year or your career experience and what comes after Whitman as soon as you step here on campus. Every single student gets matched with an individual career coach as soon as you get here. You will have to work with them all 4 years you're here. In your first year, that might just be building up a resume. As you get into your sophomore, junior, and senior year, it's thinking about placement and internships and fellowships and jobs and whatever that might be. We'll turn unpaid internships to paid internships every single summer. This past summer, we actually just launched a summer in Seattle where students are in kind of this hub cohort in Seattle doing internships as well as doing some other professional development and networking events with our staff member that lives in Seattle full time that's focused on career development for our students. But we have a lot of success. 92% of our students will have a job or go to graduate school. A lot of our students will continue on and get something past a Bachelor of Arts at Whitman. Whether you're thinking medical school, law school, business, we have a lot of students that go these paths, but I also know students that have gone on and got like their PhD in chemistry or gone and did a master's in or an MFA past graduation. And so there's a lot of different options, but we do have a lot of success in placing students. And I think part of this is because we start having that conversation as soon as you step onto campus, really making sure that it is a very thoughtful guidance during your 4 years here and that we're not just like waiting until your senior year to kind of figure that out. All right. To talk through kind of the admission timeline, obviously you can see the timeline up on the screen. Whitman has four different application deadlines. We kind of working backwards. We have regular decision, which is January 15th. That is where you can see a lot of our students will apply. We have early decision one and two. Both of those are your binding contracts. So say you walk away, Whitman is your top choice. You've come and visited us, you love us, apply early decision. You'll hear back from those within about a month of those deadlines. And we really, we're a pretty low pressure early decision school. We want you to make the decision for you if that is the best choice. But if you apply early decision and get admitted, it does mean you'll withdraw your applications from your other schools that you've applied to. We are early action is new. So this is a brand new deadline for us this year. And so you can apply early action, which will be December 1st, and you'll hear back from us probably right early February. And this is a non-binding contract, but just gives students a little bit of an earlier option to submit their application, but also hear back from us a little bit sooner. I always like to highlight that we do also have an application fee waiver deadline, which is December 1st. So no matter what deadline you apply, if you apply before December 1st, you will get your application fee waived and you can save that $60 to spend it on something that you would like to spend it on. And then we do offer an early financial aid guarantee where we will give you your full financial aid package before you even have to submit your application to Whitman. Whitman has been kind of on the forefront of financial aid transparency, and our early financial aid guarantee is kind of a way for us to flip this process on its head and give you all more information up front. And so you are able to submit an unofficial transcript in your senior year course schedule, and we'll get back to you exactly what your merit scholarship will look like. And you can start doing that right now. If you're looking for need-based aid, you'll need to wait until the CSS profile is available October 1st, and you can submit for the early financial aid guarantee at that point in time. As we talk about application review, we review applications very holistically, and our application process is pretty straightforward. If you are applying on the Common App, you have basically already applied to Whitman. We have no specific additional essays that you need to submit. There's a couple yes/no questions on the Whitman specific page of the Common App, but it really is just kind of that main Common App application. We look at kind of obviously applications very holistically. We want to make sure we're getting a sense for who you are as a whole person, not just a singular like grade on a transcript. But we do look closely at your performance in high school. I want to know what classes are you taking? What is that in the context of your high school? We do look closely at your rigor and making sure that you are challenging yourself because Whitman is a rigorous place. Bottom line, I want to make sure if I'm going to admit you that you're going to be academically successful here on campus. And so we'll look very closely at your high school transcript, how that works in the context of your high school, what does your high school offer, APs, honors, IBs, and then how have you performed within that. The average GPA we see is about a 3.7 unweighted, but we admit students above and below that because it's not just a GPA and moving on. It really is looking at the whole kind of academic trajectory and story for your kind of academic performance in high school. We are test optional. You are welcome to submit test scores if you'd like. If you would not like to submit test scores, that's totally okay. We've been test optional since 2016, so it is not anything new to our process. It really is optional and it really is your choice. We look at your personal essay, write about something that you want to write about, what you care to share with us. Don't feel the need to reinvent your wheel, just write about something that's authentic to you. Please use paragraphs. You'd be shocked about how many essays I get that don't have paragraphs. So please use paragraphs. We look at your activities list. I want to know what you're involved in. Where do you like to spend your time? How are you going to fit into our campus? Anything that's right or wrong on an activities list is just if you don't include anything. So write about all the things that you do, whether that's clubs, events, at-home responsibilities, jobs, camps, whatever it might be. List all of those things on your activities list. Your school report will come from your high school, and then we do just require one letter of recommendation. That can be from a counselor or a teacher. We know some students go to large public, so you might not have access to counselors that know you super well, so teachers are going to be better. You're more than welcome to submit additional letters of recommendation, but we do just require the one. The last thing is interviews, recommended but not required part. Happy to sit down and have a conversation with you. Reach out to your admission officer if you have questions about how to set up an interview, both virtually or in person as we travel in the fall. We typically admit a little less than 50% of our students that apply to Whitman. And so we are a selective institution, but I get to say yes to a lot of different people. And that's one of the pieces of my job that I really enjoy. All right, the last slide is kind of talking through financial aid. Whitman actually just released our Whitman's 10% promise, and this is probably the most exciting thing that maybe I'm talking about today, where a family will never pay more than 10% of their income towards tuition. If you want to scan that QR code, you can go to our website and you can see kind of the tool that you can use, but basically we're using your adjusted gross income on your FAFSA and basically saying you will never pay more than that 10% of that towards tuition at Whitman. Room and board would be additional. If you have a more complex financial situation, you are more than welcome to submit the FAFSA and the CSS, and we will do a full financial review. And we will always take whichever is a better option for you. But we offer merit scholarships, we do need-based aid, and we do meet full demonstrated need for students. And like I said, that 10% promise is a really great tool for you to understand what cost will look like at Whitman. But 97% of our students at Whitman receive some type of financial aid. Our merit scholarships range up to 35,000. I think the average package of financial aid last year was right around 55,000. And so while we do have a high sticker price that's sitting right around 86,000, that includes room and board. We do work really hard on financial aid, and we're one of the few schools that meets full demonstrated need, offers merit scholarships, but also I think is really innovative and transparent within the financial space with like our early financial aid guarantee and now our 10% promise so that you can understand what cost at Whitman will look like right from the beginning as you start your college search. That's important to us. I am more than happy if you ever have questions about Whitman for you to reach out to me directly or find your admission officer online. We would be more than happy to answer any of those questions as Whitman may be on your college list. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madison. So a couple quick questions, and
Yeah.
probably the best place to start is what we just heard about the 10%. And
Mhm.
you mentioned it that you're very innovative in terms of financial aid, not only with meeting full demonstrated need for all students, offering a early guarantee financial aid for both need and merit,
Mhm.
on top of merit scholarships, and then this 10% promise. So first off, right off the bat, kudos for
Thank you.
taking those really uh, significant steps. So
Mhm.
the 10% goes toward is just income, right? It's not including assets because I'm me being in Texas, I may be in a suburban area, but Texas, I'd say Texas is a 30 million person rural state. So you have
Yeah.
folks that have big ranches, farms that could have really high values, but their income won't kind of
Yep.
mimic that. I know this might be really uber specific. If you can't answer, that's fine. But in those sorts of situations where you have a typical income, but I guess overly significant
Big
assets.
assets.
How
Yeah.
would that kind of work?
Yeah, so that was part of the conversation when we started talking about rolling out the 10% is that we have, especially being in Eastern Washington, we also have similar, where we have a
Yeah,
lot of farmers, folks that have land, and while it looks like assets,
a lot of
isn't
vineyards
liquid
too.
assets. Yeah, and their income is actually lower. And so
Mhm.
we have a lot of those conversations, and we've been able to use some professional judgment here and there through the CSS profile. But our hope with the 10% is that it takes all the questions out of it. It is
Mhm.
just based off of adjusted gross income. I think it's like line 11 on your like tax forms or your anything or on the FAFSA is like that is what we're going to look at. So it will not include any assets or anything like that. It is just going to be based on income. And so for especially folks that might have land or property or value in some of those ways or business, the 10% oftentimes is going to be the best path because it is just going to look at that income piece of things.
Mhm.
And just make it really straightforward. Obviously, room and board would be on top of that, but I think even
Yeah.
with that, it's still going to be a benefit versus us looking at the whole adjusted, all the like other the questions that the CSS looks like. And I think
Yeah.
vice versa for students that might have really complicated like medical situations or maybe have two in college, submitting the FAFSA
Mhm.
and CSS might be a better plan of action because we'll look at kind of all those nuanced pieces or students that might need support with room and board, submitting the FAFSA and the CSS will provide additional aid to help cover that in those instances too.
And that's for both domestic and international students,
Domestic
correct?
only.
Okay, domestic only. Yeah.
Yeah, domestic only. And then with international, Whitman actually has our own internal financial aid form.
Okay.
And so basically, students will
Certification of finances, probably.
kind of, they basically
Yeah.
kind of say how much they can contribute each year.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so they say like I can contribute 20,000 towards college each year. They put that in the form. We ask for certification because they'll need certification if they get admitted and need to get a visa. But they kind of,
Mhm.
in a way, in the most simplified terms I can say, is kind of name their price of what
Yeah.
they're willing to contribute. And so that'll be kind of a separate form that international students will do.
Okay, thank you. My
Mhm.
other main question goes back to the academic side where you kind of had the two bookends, right? You had the first year seminar, then you had the senior
Mhm.
capstone thesis. So for the first year seminars, when students decide to enroll, are they able to pick from a list of choices, or is it more kind of a more broad kind of here's your reading, writing course, but it's not doesn't have any specific kind of added context? What does that look like for those sorts of, I guess, introductory courses?
Yeah, great question. So it's kind of because it's two separate semester long courses, but kind of a year long curriculum in so many ways.
Hmm.
The first semesters, there's kind of six like mini topics within kind of the bigger like theme of the first semester. And so those in the past have been like time and direction, human and animals, games, something like I can't remember something else, but like some of those topics that like the first year seminar teachers will kind of teach towards. And so
Yeah.
there'll be quite a few different course while we'll have professors from all over campus teach within our first year seminar, kind of geared towards those six bigger topics within that first
Hmm.
semester. And then as they move into that second semester, this is where the classes get a little bit that this is, and sorry, your question was students will rank kind of their topics
Yeah.
that they would like, and then they'll get placed into a class. For the second semester, this is where I think professors have a lot more freedom and flexibility. They get to choose a topic that they want to teach within first year seminar. And so I've seen anything from like dark tourism to like a philosophy professor using the TV show A Good Place to talk about like happiness and heaven, to biology professors teaching a little bit more specifically around some structures within that, to art professors a little bit more geared towards like body and movement within the art space. And so there's a
Hmm.
lot more flexibility in kind of that second semester in the terms of the topics, and students will get to kind of choose their classes for that second semester. So they have a little bit more freedom within that second semester.
Okay. So the professor doesn't follow them from fall and spring,
No, they'll have
correct?
two different
Two separate
professors.
classes, but it's
Hmm.
still within that overall
Yes.
framework.
Hmm.
Okay. And then
Like
you
still working
mentioned,
towards the same
yeah.
like learning goals. Yeah.
Okay, got you. And so you mentioned everyone has to do a thesis, whether it's more, depending on the major, of course. I
Mhm.
was wondering, how is that built into, I guess, their senior year schedule, right? Is there a specific kind of seminar course that every senior has to take that applies to their discipline? Like, how does that work for those students?
Yeah. It really is kind of dependent on the major. A lot of our like social sciences might do like a more formal thesis where they're going to do like a 50-page research
Yeah.
like paper, and that's going to be like a seminar class that they're going to take during their senior year that's probably kept pretty small, working really close individually with their advisors.
Hmm.
Where our like biology professor or students are probably doing some type of research lab and doing more of kind of a test focus kind of senior seminar, and that's going to be more of just like taking a 400 level like specific topic class with
Hmm.
that professor. In theater, it's like they will probably like if they're more performance based, will probably be a lead in a show and have to do an in-depth like play analysis on the like writer for that play,
Yeah.
and then kind of part of their like verbal part is going to be doing the performance itself. And so it really kind of fluctuates, but it is like built into the curriculum as they get to that kind of senior years that they'll work really closely with their academic advisor and their
Mhm.
seminar or their thesis advisor to make sure that they have the guidance and support. Sometimes that'll mean like a formal like thesis or seminar class. Some of it will just be worked into the curriculum where classes, especially at that level, are kept, at 10 students. And so they're able to have still that kind of individual guidance from their professors.
Okay.
Mhm.
And my final question, and although this presentation is geared towards all students, you know that I work primarily with student
Mhm.
athletes, right? And I know
Yep,
you do
absolutely.
the same at
Yeah.
Whitman. So I was wondering, can you kind of share with us the experience of a student athlete at a school like Whitman, where when you think about student athletes, it's pretty much stereotypically saying, oh, they just do their sport, they take
Mhm.
their classes, and they leave. They transfer, they graduate. They're pretty much kind of doing just one thing. Can you
Mhm.
describe how that might not be the case at a school like Whitman?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So as I mentioned, I think probably pretty quickly, is about 20% of our students at Whitman are student athletes. Um, and I played Division III softball, so it's also something that's like near and dear to my heart. Our coaches are all really incredible advocates for like the D3 experience, where you are a student first and foremost, and then you get to compete in athletics at a very high level. And don't get me wrong, athletics will probably be a very large part of your time and life
Mhm.
on campus. But our student athletes are so involved with so many different things. I am always constantly amazed about all that they can fit into their lives. I have a handful of them that have graduated from Whitman that are actually working in my office. One was a swimmer, one was a soccer player, and we have a cross country runner starting to work in our office next week. And they all did research with professors. They were involved in internships over the summer through our Whitman internship grant. They were part of Greek life, or they were involved in different clubs and organizations, or a Whitman investment club. And they are doing so much more than just being an athlete. And while that is obviously core to their experience here, because I think also student athletes, in high school, so much of your life is sitting in class and then going to a sport practice and like having to eat and do homework. I think our student athletes come into Whitman and realize, oh, I have so much more time now to do so many of these things that I've just not been able to do. And so they
Mhm.
really take advantage of that. And I think our student athletes are really well integrated into the community. They're here to learn first and foremost, and then also get to compete and go to like national tournaments like our like women's lacrosse team this year, our women's tennis team, and compete in, this really high level sports within the Northwest Conference.
Yeah. And also another thing you brought up, the travel, it's not as punishing as if you're maybe going to some Division I conferences.
Yeah,
Most
no,
Division III conferences are very much regionally based. So
yeah.
for y'all,
Our
you
students
play against
aren't,
other
yeah, missing
schools and
classes. Yeah.
yeah, Oregon and
Hmm.
Washington, it's
Yep.
pretty straightforward. So
Yeah, some bus rides here and there, but they are
yeah.
not missing classes. And if they are, they're working with their professors very
Okay.
closely. But that's like maybe like once or twice a semester. It is
Yeah.
not like every single week, like these schools from the West Coast having to fly to the East Coast for like D1, Big Ten, whatever it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, ACC. And so I think they get to be here supported. Their friends are showing up to their games, their professors are showing up to their games, and then they get to like have that like relationship also with the community, which I think is really exciting.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
So as you see on the screen here, there's Madison. Did you say which territories you cover?
I work with students mostly from the Mountain West, so
Okay.
Idaho, Montana, Utah, Colorado. But if you scan the QR code, that'll
Yeah.
take you to our website, and you should be able to find your admission officer through the drop-down list as well.
Okay, perfect. So on behalf of Madison and myself, thank you for joining us.
Mhm. Awesome. Bye.